Hello guys, today we will see a new chapter, electromagnetic induction. So this follows the chapters of electricity and magnetism. Okay, so basically it's the combination of both of them, both the concepts basically. So as the name itself suggests, electromagnetic induction means you are inducing a current in the coil passively by using one of the three methods mentioned in the textbook. Okay, so I am going through each of them, and that's the starting part. So figure 6.1 shows the first method where there is a coil and a magnet. Please note there are many things to be considered over here. So when a magnet which is having north and south pole is stationary, matlab coil and magnet is there but magnet is not moved, there will be no current set up in the coil. So you can look at figure 6.1. There is a coil to which a galvanometer is connected. So I have written G in the bracket for galvanometer, and there is a magnet. Now if you move a magnet towards the coil, okay, if you move a magnet towards the coil, then what will happen is a current is induced in the coil. How you come to know that? Galvanometer deflects. Okay, so if you bring north pole, it will deflect in one direction. If you bring south pole towards it, it will deflect in the opposite direction. That's the first aspect. Second aspect is that if you move it faster or pull it faster away from that, okay, the galvanometer deflection will be more, okay, based on how much you pull or push. Okay, so it is the relative motion between the magnet and the coil that is responsible for generation or induction of electric current in the coil. Generation, other word is induction. Okay, that's method 1. Method 2 is you have coil 1 and coil 2 now. Now magnet is removed and coil 2 is put. You can see in the figure 6.2 there is a coil 2 with battery connected to it. So I have written battery. Coil 1 is apna same hai with the galvanometer. So I am reading that a bar magnet is replaced by a second coil C2 connected to battery. The steady current in coil 2 pushes the steady magnetic field. Okay, sorry, produces the steady magnetic field. As coil C2 is moved towards C1, now C2 is moved towards C1, like how you had moved the magnet. So what happens is, just a second guys. So I am moving this coil 2 to coil 1. Okay, what happens is, again the same effect happens what we saw in method 1. Okay, so it shows deflection again, the galvanometer shows deflection again, but this time in opposite direction. Okay, the deflection lasts as long as coil C2 is in motion. When the coil C2 is held fixed and C1 is moved. Now this deflection happens when coil C2 is moved. Coil 1, if you keep C2 stationary and move C1, then again same effect is observed. Okay, so when you move C2 towards C1, galvanometer will deflect in one side. When you move C2 away from C1, galvanometer will deflect in opposite side, indicating that current has now reversed. Okay, experiment 6.3, that's the third one. Third method is you have coil 1, coil 2 now has a battery and a switch. Switch is also called as tapping key. Okay, so what happens in this experiment, let us see now. So it is observed that galvanometer shows a deflection when tapping key is pressed. So when you press switch, okay, it's like put on and put off. So when you put on, what happens is there is a momentary deflection in galvanometer. Momentary matlab it is just for a small time. The pointer in the galvanometer returns to 0 immediately. So you just tap the key, it deflects and comes back. Now that you have pressed the key, you have not left it. Okay. If the key is held pressed continuously, then there is no deflection in galvanometer. Please note this. So if it is continuously pressed, then first it will deflect, but you are keeping it pressed, but it is not getting deflected further. There is no deflection at all. It is returned to 0 now. When the key is released, a momentary deflection is observed again. Okay, but in the opposite direction. So when you release the key, there is a deflection again, but in the opposite direction, indicating that current has reversed. So it is also observed that deflection increases dramatically when an iron rod is inserted into the coils along their axis. So there is a coil, okay, and you insert an iron rod in between. The deflection of galvanometer is again increased. It's again increased if you put iron rod. along the axis. This is the axis of the coil. Okay, understood this? Next part in this chapter is called as magnetic flux. So these are three methods. I hope you understood this. Next part is called as magnetic flux. So just like how we have electric flux, magnetism also has magnetic flux, and you denote it as phi b. Okay, the formula, I will read it first. Magnetic flux through a plane of area A placed in uniform magnetic field B can be written as phi b is equal to magnetic field dot product with area. So magnetic field dot product with area. So you have an area element. I am drawing an area element over here. Okay, and you know magnetic field lines I am drawing. So let us say that this is B. Okay, and this is area vector. Okay. So, and B is present everywhere, even going out. So magnetic flux is only that many lines which are entering this area element. Okay, so it's B dot A, and if you want to remove the dot product, then it will be B into A into cos theta, where theta is the angle between B and A. Okay, please understand that. And so this is about magnetic flux, and with magnetic flux we get one important law called as Faraday's law of induction. Okay, Faraday's law of induction. So I am reading the thing first. Now in the three methods what we discussed, okay, there was an induced current. So according to Ohm's law, you know that wherever there is current, it is due to a potential difference, so voltage. So in this case we are looking at the specific term called as EMF, okay, which we had discussed in the earlier chapters. So I am reading that the common point in all the experiments or all the three methods what we saw before is that the time rate of change of magnetic flux through the circuit induces EMF in it. Time rate of change means what? You are either moving the magnet or moving the coil, or you are tapping the key and putting it off. So it's the time for which the magnetic flux changes which induces the current in the coil, correct? So Faraday's law states that EMF induced in the coil is equal to negative of rate of change of magnetic flux. Okay, now you can see negative sign over there. Negative sign indicates the direction of EMF and hence the direction of current in the closed loop. Okay, it is negative because it's in the opposite direction to which the EMF is induced. Okay, and if any coil, now we saw the coil with one turn. If it has n turns, then simply multiply n to it. Okay, so this is for one turn. So this is for one turn wala coil, and this is for n turns. So just simply multiply n to d phi b by dt with a minus sign. Understood? So this is Faraday's law of induction. Okay, so we move next to the numerical problem based on the concepts of electromagnetic EMF and the Faraday's law. So first we will solve example 6.2, which is there on the textbook, and we will understand how to apply the theoretical concepts while solving the numerical. Okay, so I am reading the question first. A square loop of side 10 cm and resistance 0.5 ohms is placed vertically in the east-west plane. So I have drawn a diagram over here. So this is the east-west plane, okay, and I have drawn a square loop. So this is a 2D representation what I have drawn on the board. So 3-dimensionally the square loop will come like this, okay, like this. So I have drawn it in a dotted line to just show you that this is the square loop. Okay, I have written all the details over here which is given in the problem. So side is 10 centimeter. So when I convert it into meters, it will be 10 into 10 raised to minus 2 meter. Okay. Next is a uniform magnetic field of 0.1 Tesla. So it's set up in the northeast direction, it is given. So northeast direction is this, So I'll take it exactly in the middle. Okay, and you know that this total angle is 90 degree, so this will be 45 degree. Okay, so this will be 45 degree. The magnetic field is decreased to 0 in 0.7 seconds. Okay, so it is decreased to 0 in 0.7 second means magnetic field will become 0 in 0.7 seconds. So delta T will be 0.7. Okay, and magnetic field, this is initial and final magnetic field will be 0. Okay, so these are all the things given. Now as you know the formula for magnetic flux, so what is asked? Determine the magnitudes of induced EMF and current during this time interval. Okay, so current you will use resistance later on, but you have to first find EMF. So you need to understand how to solve these questions first. What is asked in the problem is determine the magnitude of induced EMF and current. So current you cannot find till you find EMF. Okay, because current ka formula is I is equal to EMF upon R. So you have to find EMF first because it is not given. Okay, so EMF to find, you need to find phi first. See, imagine for current you need EMF, for EMF you need phi B. Okay, because EMF ka formula you know that minus d phi B by dt. So you need phi B first. Okay, so for this you need phi B. Okay, so this is how it works. So don't directly jump to writing the formulas, just see what is given in the problem and then try to apply it. Okay, so first thing we find is phi B. So phi B ka formula as you know is B into A into cos theta, magnetic field into area into cos theta. Now it's area of the what's the conductor, it's square in shape. So area of the square is side square, magnetic field first 0.1 into area of the square is side square, side is given as 10 centimeter, so you will convert it into meter first. So 10 into 10 raised to minus 2 is what? It is 0.1. I'll write 10 into 10 raised to minus 2 only. Okay, it is square, side square into cos 45 degree. Okay, I will just put into cos 45 degree because angle is 45 degree here. Okay, so this answer is, so this can be written as 1 upon 10 into, now this will be 100 into 10 raised to minus 4 when you square it into 1 upon root 2. Okay, this answer will be 10 raised to minus 3 upon root 2. Okay, 10 raised to minus 3 upon root 2. Understood? So I will keep the answer like this only and later we will calculate it. Okay, so this is Weber. Weber is the unit of phi B. Okay, so the first job is done, phi B is calculated. Okay, second part is you calculate EMF. So EMF is minus d phi B by dt. Okay, and minus d phi B by dt, now you have to take magnitude. So this sign was because of the direction. So magnitude is directly you can write. Okay, so it will be final, it will be initial minus final flux. Okay, so initial is this, so I will write it 10 raised to minus 3 upon root 2, final is 0. Final is 0 because magnetic field is reduced to 0, right? Upon delta t is given to you 0.7. Okay, this answer when you calculate you get 1 millivolt. 1 millivolt. Okay, or it is 1 into 10 raised to minus 3 volts. Okay, and finally, so this is your answer for EMF. So EMF is done and the last part is current. So current will be EMF upon resistance, and EMF you have calculated 1 into 10 raised to minus 3 upon resistance is given, that is 0.5. Okay, 0.5, so that is 2 into 10 raised to minus 3 ampere. Okay, that is 2 milliamperes. Understood? So the question was asked for EMF and current. So these are your main answers. This is how we solve question 6.2. I hope you understood this. Okay, I am repeating for the students who have not understood, I am repeating it. What is given in the problem, you need to write it first like this. because it becomes simple to understand later on. So always follow this discipline of writing what is given in the problem and drawing the appropriate diagram if at all it is required. For this problem it is required. So it's given that a square conductor is lying along the east-west plane, so it's along the east-west, okay, and the magnetic field is along the northeast direction. So that will be forming a 45 degree because northeast, west, south, okay, and if you take exactly northeast in between, then 45 degree will be the angle, okay. All the data I have written over here. First, what is asked in the problem is EMF is asked and current is asked, okay. These two things are asked. So to get current का formula is EMF upon resistance. To get EMF, so EMF is not given in the problem and EMF is asked to calculate. So you need to calculate EMF. To calculate EMF, the formula is minus d phi b by dt, that's rate of change of magnetic flux, and phi b is also not given. So but all the data is given, from that you can find phi b by this formula, b a cos theta. Okay, when you substitute everything, you get the answer as 10 raised to minus 3 upon root 2 Weber. Okay, then you take initial magnetic field minus initial magnetic flux minus final magnetic flux upon change in time, that is d phi b by dt. Minus sign you ignore because minus sign came in the main formula because of the direction of the EMF, which was opposite to the induced flux. But here only magnitude is asked, so magnitude is positive. So it is initial flux minus final flux. Final flux is 0 because in the problem it is given that magnetic field reduces to 0 in 0.7 seconds. So final is 0 and the change of time is 0.7. And I calculate this, I get the answer as 10 raised to minus 3 volts. And finally I put this formula to find current and I get the answer as 2 milliamperes. Okay. Likewise, we have example 6.3. So I will first write the data what is given. So circular coil of radius 10 centimeter. Now this was a square coil. Now that's a circular coil. Okay. So circular coil of radius 10 centimeter. So let us write the data 10 centimeter. So this will be same over here, 0.1 meter. Okay. Then 500 turns. Number of turns is 500, it is given. Okay, resistance is 2 ohms. Is placed in a plane perpendicular to the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. Okay, now it's perpendicular to the plane, perpendicular to the horizontal component of the Earth's magnetic field. Okay, so let's draw a very simple diagram. Okay, suppose this is Earth's magnetic field. Earth, okay, so I am writing BE. So it will be like this, understood? No, the conductor will be like this. Okay, it is rotated about a vertical diameter through 180 degree in 0.25 seconds. So it is rotated, oh sorry, it's circular, right? Let me change this to circular, and it is rotated in the vertical diameter and by 180 degree, understood? In 0.25 seconds. So theta is 180 degree and delta t is 0.5 seconds. Sorry, 0.25 seconds. Okay. Estimate the magnitude of EMF and current, and horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field is given. Okay. So horizontal component is given. I will write it as B only. Okay. To be specific, I will write BH as 3 into 10 raised to minus 5 Tesla. These many things are given, okay, and delta t is given. You need to again find EMF and current. So same procedure we will follow, okay, same procedure we will follow. So this time your final magnetic flux is not 0, as you can see, okay, because it is not given that magnetic field is becoming 0. So phi b final is not 0. So let us calculate phi b initial first. Okay, I will write phi b in bracket I. Okay, b a cos theta. What's the answer of this? So let's put all the values over here. So this is initial. So initial will be this one. Okay, 3 into 10 raised to minus 5 into, now its area of a circle. Area of a circle is pi r square. So pi into radius is 0.1, only 0.1 will be squared, not pi, okay, into cos of 180 degree. No, sorry, it will be cos of 0 degree for the first case, because initially it is not being rotated, right? Initially it is not being rotated, so it will be cos of 0 degree. And as you know, cos 0 is 1 trigonometry, okay. When you calculate this, the answer is 3 pi, don't substitute for pi, 3 pi into 10 raised to minus 7 Weber, that you calculate on your own, okay. And when you rotate it, so this is before rotation, this is before rotation, okay, this is before rotation. After rotation your phi b, I will write f this time for final, again is the same formula, ba cos theta. So ba cos theta, I will directly substitute. Magnetic field will be same, 3 into 10 raised to minus 5 into area will be same, pi into 0.1 square, and this time it will be cos of 180 degree. This time it will be cos of 180 degree. And as you know, cos 180 is minus 1. So the answer will be same but with minus sign, 3 pi into 10 raised to minus 7 Weber. Okay, understood this? Cos 0 is positive 1, so you got answer as positive. Cos 180 is negative 1, so you got answer as negative. Magnitude is same but signs are different. Okay. Now when you calculate EMF, this time the formula will slightly change, okay, because there are number of turns involved. So you will multiply n d phi b by dt. So 500 is the number of turns into change in the magnetic flux. It's initial minus final. So it's initial minus final. Initial minus final will be, now see this is, let us say x. So this will be minus x, right? If this is x, then this is minus x, right? Same magnitude but negative sign. So when you do x minus x, your answer is 2x, right? This is what you get. So what answer you will get here is, initial minus final will be twice of the magnitude. So twice of magnitude will be 2 into 3 pi into 10 raised to minus 7. Understood? With a positive sign. Okay, with a positive sign, because you are only finding the magnitude. So I'll just put magnitude over here. Okay. Even here it is magnitude. Okay. Upon change in the time is given as 0.25 seconds. Understood this? How to do? So your answer will be 3.8 into 10 raised to minus 3 volt. Okay. Now you have resistance which is 2 ohms and you have EMF, you can find current. So current is EMF upon resistance, that is 3.8 into 10 raised to minus 3 upon 2. So 19 to the 38, so you will get 1.9 into 10 raised to minus 3 ampere. Okay, so this is your current. So this is your EMF and this is your current. For those who have not understood, I will explain this problem again. So in the problem it is given that it is a circular coil which is rotated 180 degree along its vertical diameter. So it will be like this, and your horizontal component of earth is this way, so it is perpendicular. The plane of the coil is perpendicular to the earth's magnetic field. Resistance is given, number of turns is given, radius of the circular coil is given, and theta is 180 degree they have told, and everything is given over here, and the horizontal component of magnetic field is also given. So before rotation and after rotation you need to find two values. So phi bi you write before rotation, and before rotation, since it is stationary, it is 0 degree angle. So 0 degree and then it turns 180 degree. So all the values will come same in both the cases, except cos angle will be 0 over here, here it will be 180 degree. Okay, due to which the magnitude is same but signs are different, and then you get answer for EMF and current. Let's continue. The next concept is Lenz's law. So I will first state what Lenz's law, the statement is. The polarity of induced EMF is such that it tends to produce a current which opposes the change in the magnetic flux that produced it. Okay. So it simply means that whenever an EMF is induced in a coil, okay, it will tend to produce a current, and that current will oppose the EMF that magnetic flux that produced it. Okay. So I am reading it again. Now you will understand it. Polarity of the induced EMF is such that it tends to produce a current which opposes change in the magnetic flux. So since magnet is got near to the coil, okay, it induces an EMF in the coil, and the polarity of that induced EMF will be such that it will oppose the change in the magnetic flux. Okay. Now what is happening over here? So now I am getting the magnet towards the coil. So north pole is near to the coil and south pole is away from the coil. So when you get the magnet near the coil, okay, there will be change in the magnetic flux as we saw in the last class. So change in the magnetic flux will induce an EMF in the coil. This is a coil, okay, and so the current will be generated in the coil due to that induced EMF, which will be in anti-clockwise direction. And why it is anti-clockwise direction? Because this current will try to oppose the magnet coming towards it. Understood that? It will try to oppose it, it will try to repel it. If it was going clockwise, then it would have been attracting it and it would be violating the law of conservation of energy, because see, when you attract, so the velocity and kinetic energy of the coil will increase, and that is not, sorry, of the magnet will increase, and that is not the law of conservation of energy. Law of conservation of energy states that if I am doing some work, so I am doing work in bringing this magnet closer towards the coil, then there should be opposition so that it does not come, because when the current flows in the coil, there is heating effect. Okay. So when I am doing work, so where is that energy gone? Where is that energy stored? That energy is stored over here in the form of heat. So as you go near to it, it will still increase. So it needs to oppose it. That's why the current is anti-clockwise direction if the north pole of the magnet goes towards the coil. So this is the case of magnet approaching the coil. What if the magnet is taken away now? Now it is gone towards the coil. Now I am taking away from the coil. When you take away from the coil, okay, what will happen is magnetic flux is getting reduced. Since magnetic flux is getting reduced, so here in this particular case, phi b was increasing. Phi b was increasing. Okay. So magnetic flux was increasing. So it went anti-clockwise and tried to push it away. In this case, phi b is decreasing. Magnetic flux is decreasing because you are taking it away from the coil. So that will be trying to take the current, and can you see the current is reversed over here? So current is anti-clockwise here, it is clockwise in this case. Why it is clockwise? Is trying to attract the magnet. Okay, it is trying to resist or oppose the magnetic flux which is inducing the current in this coil. Okay, so this is Lenz's law. Now, so there are certain examples which explains Lenz's law in detail. Like you can see there is a magnetic field. This X what I marked is all magnetic field. Okay, going through the plane of this board, and there are three particular coils of different types of shapes which are either entering or leaving the magnetic field. Please note that if the coils are totally inside the magnetic field or totally outside the magnetic field, there will be no current induced, okay, because it needs change in the magnetic field. So if the coil is inside only moving, then the magnetic field is constant, so flux is 0, because phi b, as we saw in the last class, is B dot A. So there is no B, there is no change in the magnetic flux. Okay. So there will be no induced EMF. Induced EMF is dB by dt. dB by dt. So dB is change in magnetic field. Change in magnetic field is not happening if the conductor is outside or inside. Correct. So can you see this is entering inside, this is going outside, this is going outside. So there will be EMF induced and then hence current induced in these three coils. But what about directions? You can see two are leaving but one is entering. So the direction of current will be same for these two, but it will be different for or opposite for this one. Okay, let us see. Now see, since this is entering the magnetic field, okay, the current will be in such a direction which will try to oppose its entry, okay, and that will be anti-clockwise, because when you are entering, then it will become anti-clockwise. So your current will be in this direction, okay, anti-clockwise. So it will go from B, C, D, A, like that, okay. This question I took from textbook example 6.4, which is solved, okay. So they have also said that it will flow along the path of B, C, D, A, B, B, C, D, A, B, okay. For this particular case, it is going outside, so current will be going clockwise. So clockwise is this direction, okay, that will be A, C, B, A, and for this also it will be clockwise, okay. So direction will be C, D, A, B, C. Understood this? So this explains Lenz's law. Next is motional electromotive force or motional EMF. Now there is a slight derivation over here, but before derivation I would like to tell you about this conductor. Now how do we construct this conductor is, now let us consider a straight conductor moving in a uniform and time independent magnetic field. Now this is a conductor. Now they are talking about this conductor PQ, okay. Now this full thing is a conductor, but there is a movable part, only this PQ side is moving, and there is a magnetic field where I have marked X. The length of the conductor is L, okay. So figure 6.10 from textbook shows a rectangular conductor PQRS in which conductor PQ is free to move. The rod PQ is moved towards the left with constant velocity V. Can you see over here? It's moved to left with constant velocity V. Assume that there is no loss of energy due to friction. So friction we are avoiding, there is no friction. It is placed in a uniform magnetic field B, which is perpendicular to the plane of the system. So I will write B over here. So this is a magnetic field, even velocity is a vector quantity, so I will write P bar, okay. If the length of the RQ is X and RS is L, okay, RQ is X, they are taking, this distance is X and this distance is L, okay. Then when you calculate phi B, so what's the formula of phi B? Phi B magnetic flux is B A, it will be C, it will be cos 0 degree in this case, because you are taking magnetic field and area, okay, are perpendicular to each other, okay, actually, but you are ignoring this cos term. I will write cos theta over here for you to understand very easily. So you can see that area vector and magnetic field, okay, are perpendicular to each other, but if I take cos 90, it will be 0 over here. So don't worry like that, you simply directly ignore this cos term, because that was for vector quantity. You put cos theta for vector quantity, right? Matlab you are taking the scalar product B dot A and then you are getting BA cos theta. So ignore that and simply write BA in this case, okay. So that confusion will be eliminated. No need of taking theta over here, okay. So magnitude of the magnetic flux will be magnetic field into area. So magnetic field is B, area will be area of rectangle over here, it's a rectangle. So rectangle ka area is length into breadth. So let us say this is length, so this is X and breadth is L. So Lx or XL, whatever you want to write. So B into L into X, okay. BLX will be your phi B, understood? BLX. Now you are finding EMF. So you want to find EMF. So EMF is, you know the formula, minus d phi B by dt, okay. So this will be minus d by dt of this term BLX, okay. Now what is changing with respect to time is X. Can you see L is remaining constant? Even if you move this conductor over here, L is remaining constant, but X is changing, X is decreasing as you move it here or there, or increasing, okay, whatever. So you take B and L outside and then minus sign also outside, BL, so it will be dx by dt. So minus BL, what is dx by dt? Dx by dt is nothing but velocity of that conductor. So I am writing it as V, okay. Now since it is coming in the direction opposite, so the conductor is moving towards the left. So we are ignoring this negative sign because we are assuming that the conductor is being taken to left. So right is positive, left is negative, that's how they are considering it. So I'll simply remove this negative sign and say that EMF is positive BLV. Okay, positive BLV. So thus we are able to produce induced EMF by moving a conductor instead of varying the magnetic field. Okay. So now in this case you are not changing the magnetic flux, your magnetic flux is constant. Okay, but you are changing the path of the conductor, you are moving the conductor and hence you are inducing EMF. Okay. So now the work done, I am reading the paragraph before the work done. It is also possible to explain motional EMF expression by invoking Lorentz force acting on free charge carriers of conductor PQ. So we are taking now the consideration of Lorentz force acting on this PQ. Okay. When the rod moves with speed v, the charge will be also moving with this speed v. So this rod has charges, it is moving with speed v, so the charges inside will also move with speed v in the magnetic field. Lorentz force on this charge is QVB in magnitude. Okay, now you know that F ka expression in terms of charge and velocity is QVB. It's QVB sin theta actually, but leave that sin component. Okay, so QVB, understood? Now what is work done? What is work done? Say W will be equal to force into displacement, right? By how much it is getting displaced? Okay, by how much it is getting displaced. So all the charges experience same force and magnitude and direction. Work done in moving charge from point P to Q. From point P to Q, if you want to move, then the displacement is L. So FL it is and not Fx. Please note, we are moving charge from P to Q because charge means current, right? So your expression will be, I am putting this over here. So QVBL, can you see QVBL came? Okay. Now this is work done. And what is EMF? EMF, now see this and this thing is not connected. Okay, so I am putting a line over here. This expression we are getting again over here by using force. Okay, this was just by using flux and EMF. We are using force over here and then finding EMF. EMF is what? EMF is work done upon charge. Work done upon charge. So this is the definition which we saw in 10th standard current electricity chapter, that potential difference is nothing but V is equal to work done upon unit charge. So EMF is also work done upon unit charge. Put this work done over here, you will get QVBL upon Q. Q and Q gets cut. What you get is BLV. Did you see this and this expression came to be same? Okay, so this is by using Lorentz force acting on the charges of the conductor, and this is using the magnetic flux and then using EMF ka formula related to magnetic flux. So this gives a summary about Lenz's law and motional EMF. Now we will see about power which is required. Okay, so when I said in the last particular section that law of conservation of energy, so I mentioned about energy aspect. So energy is to be considered. Now work done, okay, work which was done in moving the conductor or moving the magnet towards the coil, okay, led to energy being transferred into the conductor due to the current flowing through it and was stored as heat. But if this is the case, then there should be an expression, mathematical expression for that. So the last expression what we got about EMF, I am going to write it again over here. So EMF is equal to PLV. This is what we got. Okay. Now let us go further and derive the power. So let R be the resistance of the movable arm PQ. So let us say R is the resistance of arm PQ which was moving. Okay. we assume that remaining arms have negligible resistance as compared to R. So remaining arms which are there, that is basically RS, SP and QR, okay, are having negligible resistances. So thus the current which is flowing into the conductor now is given as EMF upon this resistance, okay. I am putting the value of resistance EMF over here, that's BLV upon R, BLV upon R, okay. So this is the expression of current. Now on account of presence of magnetic field, there is a force on arm PQ. Now there is a magnetic field, the conductor is moving, so F is equal to ILB, that force will be coming into picture now, okay. F is equal to ILB, put this I over here, you will get BLV upon R into L into B, correct. So there are two B's and there are two L's, so B square L square V upon R will be your force. So this is your EMF. I am circling the main formulas, this is the current and this is the force, okay. Now alternatively arm PQ is being pushed with constant speed. This is the force exerted due to current alone, not because that conductor is moving. Now because conductor is moving, there is one more force, this external force acting on it. So what will be the power? What will be the power required? So the power required to do this, P is equal to F into V, okay, will be force into velocity, correct, because we know this formula, force into velocity is power. So power, please substitute, F will be B square L square V upon R into V. So P will be equal to B square L square V square upon R, okay. So this is the formula for power. Understood that? So thus the mechanical energy which was needed to move arm PQ is converted into electrical energy and then to thermal energy. So the mechanical energy that is moving the arm PQ is not directly converted into thermal energy, but it is first getting converted into electrical energy, that's current, and then into thermal energy. So energy consideration when we say, okay, so energy conversion involved in this particular case is, first is mechanical energy, I will say. Mechanical energy gets converted into electrical energy and which is getting converted into thermal, okay. So mechanical energy, how? Moving the PQ conductor, okay. Electrical energy, this is induced current I. So basically this is that induced current, and then what is getting converted into power, okay, that's the heating effect, right, which is giving that power. So that's the power. Understood? Next part of this chapter is eddy currents. So I will read from the textbook and simultaneously I will explain you what I have written over here. So eddy currents, when the bulk pieces of conductors are subjected to changing magnetic flux, induced currents are produced in them. So all the while we have seen only single conductor, okay, either the conductor is moving or the magnetic field is changing, then the current is induced. So that was the single conductor. What about if too many conductors are moved together or magnetic field is changed in presence of too many conductors? Will the current be induced in only one of them or all of them? Yes, it is all of them. It is because individually currents are produced because current magnetic moment formula क्या है? I into I current into area, so it will be induced in all the area elements, okay. When the flow pattern of current will be seen in all of them, it will resemble swirling eddies in water. So you must have seen these swirling eddies in water. So the current represents like them, something like this, okay, and these are called as eddy currents. So consider the apparatus which is shown in figure 6.13. So this is that one, okay. Now here there is a conductor, okay, single one, okay, and it is freely moving in between the north and south pole, okay, and this you can see that magnetic field is there, okay. So when it will be moving this side, the current will be in the clockwise direction, and when it will be moving, it will be moving this side and is anti-clockwise direction, and when it will be moving that side, it will be clockwise direction. Understood? So it will change the direction. So when it will change the direction, the current also will be changing the direction. Did you understand that? So I am reading that now. A copper plate is allowed to swing like a simple pendulum between the pole pieces of the strong magnet. It is found that motion is damped, and in little while the plate comes to halt in the magnetic field. Okay. So the motion becomes damped because of the eddy current. Since the current is produced, what happens is there is damping. Damping means slowing down. Did you understand? Okay. So it does not move freely. So it will slow down and stop. Understood? Because the magnetic flux also changes. So magnetic flux associated with the plate keeps on changing as the plate moves in and out of the region between the magnetic poles. The flux change induces the eddy currents in the plate. So when this moves, there is a flux change and there are eddy currents produced, okay, due to which there is damping caused and it will come to halt. Now what is the option to minimize eddy current? Now eddy current is not good. Of course over here it is not good because you want it to swing freely, say. Then I am making perforations like this, okay. So slits I am making. Now rectangular slots are made in the copper plate as shown in this figure, and area available to the flow of eddy currents is less now. So can you see, this was total rectangle, but now here there are small rectangles, area is reduced. So since area is reduced, electromagnetic damping will be reduced and the plate will swing freely, okay, and the eddy currents are set up like this individually in the plates. Understood that? Now what are the applications? Why is this eddy current is important? So this fact is helpful in reducing eddy currents in the metallic cores of transformers, electric motors and other devices where the coil is to be wound over the metallic core. Now if I in the transformer and all, there is a coil wound on the metallic core, right? So I want to minimize eddy current loss over there. So to minimize that, you are using laminations of metal to make a metal core. So you use laminations of metal and eddy currents will be minimized. Eddy currents are useful in magnetic braking of trains, the first application. Strong electromagnets are situated above the rails in some electric powered trains. When the electromagnets are activated, eddy currents are induced in the rail that oppose the motion of the train. Okay, so the train is very fast. Now as it approaches the station, it needs to brake so that slowly it will come to halt. But this is possible because of the electromagnets and eddy currents. Okay, so electromagnets will be activated just in time you want to brake. Okay, and due to eddy currents, there will be damping. There will be damping between the rail and the wheels, and the train will come to halt because of eddy currents. Okay, and mechanical link is not there. So there is no heat produced, and braking effect is smooth. Second is electromagnetic damping. Now galvanometer, we have discussed a lot about galvanometer, but how it works is you have a core made up of non-magnetic metallic material. So you have to use a non-magnetic metallic material, and now when the current will flow through the galvanometer, okay, there will be flux induced, okay, and eddy current will be produced in the core. Eddy current is the induced current produced. So due to which galvanometer it has deflected, it will come to halt immediately because of eddy current. Now it will oppose the motion of the galvanometer, so it will come to halt. Okay. Induction furnace is the third one. Induction furnace can be used to produce high temperatures and can be utilized to prepare alloys by melting the constituent metals. How? High frequency alternating current is passed through the coil, Now there is a coil and high frequency. So let us say that, let us take this example. Okay, now this is not the example to be discussed for this point, but I am just telling you, say this is that metal which is put inside, okay, and this is a coil, and now you pass alternating current over the bigger coil. So this eddy currents generated in the metals produces high temperature sufficient to melt it. So this metal, in this metal, due to the changing current, there will be eddy current in the metal which will raise the temperature and melt it. Okay, and you are used to prepare alloy. Electric power meter is the fourth one. Shiny metal disc in the electric power meter rotates due to eddy currents. Electric current are induced in the disc by magnetic field produced by the sinusoidally varying currents in the coil. So electric power meter, if you have seen at your home, it has a shiny disc which rotates. It is because when the current passes, okay, current comes from the mains, okay, and that power meter, there is a magnetic flux which is changing and eddy current is induced which rotates that coil. Okay. So these are the applications of eddy currents. Then we come to a very important point or concept called inductance. So an electric current can be induced in the coil by flux change produced by another coil in the vicinity or flux change produced by the same coil. So flux change with the another coil in the vicinity means what? Like we had seen in the previous classes that one coil, coil 1 is there, coil 2 is there. So coil 2 I am bringing near coil 1, okay. So there will be induced current in the coil 1. So this is one method, and due to changing magnetic field, okay, current can be set up in the same coil, okay. So there is self inductance possible due to same coil and mutual inductance possible due to other coil. In both the cases, flux is proportional to current, okay. If the coil has n turns, like this, say it has n turns, then you can multiply n, that is number of turns, to phi b. So phi b is proportional to I, and phi b is proportional to I. So to remove this proportionality sign, we put a constant called as m. This m is called as mutual inductance. This m is called as mutual inductance. So your formula will be number of turns into magnetic flux is equal to mutual inductance into current. That's the induced current. Okay. So mutual inductance, let's say you have arrangement of two coils. One coil is inside the another coil. Say this bigger coil is S2 with N2 turns, the smaller coil is S1 with N1 turns. Radius of the bigger coil S2 is R2, radius of the smaller coil is R1, and the length of both the coils is L. Now we will see what happens exactly over here. So when current I2 is passed through solenoid S2, so we take a bigger solenoid and pass current I2 to it. So what will happen is, according to this formula, flux will be induced in coil 1. That's why I have written N1 phi 1 over here. So N1 phi 1 will be the flux induced in coil 1 due to current I2. So mutual inductance will be represented as 1, 2. It is mutual inductance in 1 due to solenoid 2. Okay, mutual inductance in solenoid 1 due to solenoid 2. Now N into phi. What is phi? We have seen the formula phi, that is magnetic flux is magnetic field into area, B into A. So number of turns is given as number of turns per unit length. So these are total number of turns N1, but per unit length will be multiplied by length. Okay, so small n1 into L, okay, multiplied by phi is what? B into A, right? So area is pi r square because it's a circle. So pi r1 square because we are calculating for, because flux is induced in coil 1. So pi into r1 square into magnetic field B is, this magnetic field is in the 2, right? Okay. So I am writing over here for your convenience, it will be number of turns per unit length, number, area and magnetic field. Number of turns per unit length, area and magnetic field. Area into magnetic field is flux, number of turns per unit length is this. Okay. Now if I arrange this properly, I get like this: mu naught n1 n2 pi r1 square I2 and L. I'm just arranging very systematically over there. I've named this as 1, named this as 2. If you compare 1 and 2, I2 and I2 will get cancelled because there is I2, okay, and you will get M12 as only this much, this and L, okay. So mu naught n1 n2 pi r1 square L. Now let us see what if current I1 is passed through the solenoid S1, whether we get the same answer or not. Let us see. So in a similar way, now current I1 is passed through the smaller solenoid. Now the flux will be induced in the bigger coil, but the area in which it will be located will be this much only and not spread to full, okay. So N2 phi 2 is equal to M21 into I1, that's okay, but number of turns is N2 into L, that's okay, but area this time will not be pi r2 square, it will be pi r1 square only, because the flux is induced due to current in S1, but it is located almost only in this much area. So it will be pi r1 square only, and here it will be mu naught n1 I1. If I rearrange it, you can see that I get the same answer as M12. Can you see this? Hence M12 and M21 you can write it as M only. This is the mutual inductance. So from coil 1 due to coil 2 or coil 2 due to coil 1, mutual inductance answer is same. Okay. Okay, next part is self inductance, L. Okay. The unit of mutual or self inductance is Henry. It is named after scientist Joseph Henry, who discovered electromagnetic induction concept. Okay. Now in the previous classes we saw that EMF is equal to minus n d phi by dt, where n is number of turns of the coil and phi is the magnetic flux associated with it. Okay, phi b to be precise. Okay. Now in the last part we had seen that in mutual inductance, okay, it was like this, right? N phi b is equal to mi. So if we substitute this over here, what we will get is minus m di by dt. Now what is self inductance? Mutual inductance was because of two coils. Self inductance is because of the same coil. So in the coil, say current is flowing. The current which is flowing is inducing a magnetic flux on itself. Okay. So n phi b is equal to L into I, where L is the self inductance this time. So there is only one coil involved over here. Understood? So if you put this over here, then you get minus L di by dt. So can you see there is a similarity in between both of them? So what it suggests that EMF is also dependent on the change of current with respect to time. So not only EMF depends upon change in the magnetic flux, but also it depends upon change in the current, but when multiplied by inductances. Okay. Now going ahead, we will see what is the concept of self inductance. So let us calculate the self inductance of a long solenoid of cross sectional area A and length L. Now we have taken a solenoid of length L. Okay. Now similarly we will take a solenoid over here. Okay. Say there are number of turns, okay, which are n number of turns. This length is L, area is A, so area will be A, okay, and let us say radius will be R. Okay, so let us take this solenoid and calculate what's the self inductance. Okay, so n phi b will be, now what are the number of turns? Number of turns, we shall write it as NL. This is number of turns into length. So number of turns into length, actually this number of turns I write as small l. So number of turns into length will be total number of turns n. Okay, so number of turns into unit length into, now phi is what? B into A. Okay, magnetic field into area. Magnetic field, let us say mu naught into n into I, and area is pi r square. Okay. So it will give you as, so currently I am writing area as A only because no need to write pi r square over here. Just keep it as A only. So you will get it as mu naught n square, because two n's are there, okay, IAL. So this will be your N phi B. Okay, now you want to calculate L. Okay, self inductance, you want to calculate L. So L will be what? From here it will be N phi B upon I, correct? Substitute this one over here, you get mu naught N square AL. I and I will get cancelled and you will get this much. This is the value of the self inductance. Okay, now if you put some material, now this case is for vacuum free space. If you put some material, then mu r will be multiplied to this term. Okay, that will be the dielectric constant or relative permeability of that medium. Okay, you just have to simply multiply it. Understood that? Now work done. So self-induced EMF is also called as back EMF, as it opposes any change in the current in the circuit. So since there is only one coil involved, okay, and the current is flowing, the self-inductance opposes any change in the further magnetic flux. Understood? So it's also called as back EMF, and physically, if you compare mechanics and electricity, then inductance plays the role of inertia. So what was inertia? Inertia was the tendency to oppose the motion of the object, right, in mechanics. So here it opposes the change in the magnetic flux. Okay, so inductance represents inertia. So the work done, now there will be a work done against the back EMF to establish current. So the current is flowing, the current is being opposed also. So there has to be work done to overcome this. So work done, I will write here, work done will be EMF into I, and that will be magnitude of EMF into I. Okay, negative sign will not come. Okay, this work done is stored as a magnetic potential energy. Now what is this work done? This work done in establishing the current in the circuit, even though the self inductance is opposing it. Okay, now substitute EMF from here in this case. Okay, you will get dW by dt is equal to, now I am taking only magnitude, so negative sign is not there, L di by dt into this I will write over here, L I di by dt. Okay, now total amount of work, now this is the fractional work per unit time, this is a small change in work. Total work will be integration of dW. So total work will be, now this dt will come over here and will get cancelled. So L I di. Okay, so W will be equal to, L will be out, integral I di. Integral I di is I square upon 2. So Li square upon 2. So what does this remind you? Is this reminding you of kinetic energy is half mv square? So can you see work done and kinetic energy is related? Okay, this is the work done in establishing the current in the circuit, even though the self inductance is opposing it. Okay, L represents mass in mechanics. So can you see this and this is related? L represents mass and this is the current and that's the velocity of the object which is moving. So electricity and mechanics are always related to each other. Okay, and hence the name of the chapter, electromagnetic induction. Understood, no? Okay, so W is equal to half Li square is your answer. Now we will see whether, now we will say general case where there are two coils, okay, coil 1 and coil 2, okay, and a current is flowing through coil 1 and a current is flowing through coil 1, let us see. Okay, now the flux linked with that coil will be the sum of two fluxes actually. Now if the current is flowing over here, then there will be two fluxes. Which one? One will be mutual inductance and one will be self inductance. Okay, so N1 phi 1 will be given as M11 I1 plus M12 I2. Okay, now the current is flowing, there is I1 over here and I2 over here. It will have two EMFs because one EMF will be due to mutual inductance. This will be given as M12, and for this self inductance will be L actually, but it also represented as M11. M11 is 1 due to 1, that's L only. Okay, so this will be the expression. Now you can substitute. What is M11? M11 is nothing but L. Okay, so it is minus L1 di by dt, di1 by dt minus M12 di2 by dt. Did you see what happened over here? So I just substituted these terms in over here. Understood? So for one coil only, the N1 will be equal to the sum of two EMFs. Did you understand that?